Now at 5, four-staters come together to show unity and celebrate Juneteenth. Plus, vending machines that dispense life-saving medical supplies. And
top U.S. officials try to ease tensions with China. Scattered every at the White House with breakthroughs and the diplomatic sticking points between the two superpowers.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Four-staters rally to support one another as the nation celebrates Juneteenth, marking the day all Americans became aware that slavery had ended. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. A community in Parsons, Kansas rallied together today to walk and demonstrate unity. For the celebration organizer, Santana Johnson, the unity shown today is an integral part of bringing awareness and action to issues that still face people every day.
I just believe that if we can't have a community if there's no unity in it. So I just feel like it's very important that we come together and connect and make things work for the best of all of us. It's not just about black community, it's about all the community.
Johnson partnered with Moms Demand Action, an organization committed to ending gun violence in the U.S. For information, you can follow both the Parsons Juneteenth and Moms Demand Action organizations on Facebook. A Juneteenth celebration is underway right now in Joplin's Ewart Park. The Easttown Roots Picnic includes food, music, and other fun events. A barbecue truck is there. This is a live image. The celebration continues until 8:30 tonight. One of the four states' most prominent figures, George Washington Carver, was born into slavery in 1864. Because of that, the celebration of Juneteenth takes on an additional importance in the four states as the George Washington Carver National Park was founded in 1943, the first national park dedicated to an African American.
We're the first park site in the National Park Service dedicated to an African American. So we're happy here to celebrate his life and the African American experience every day.
The George Washington Carver National Monument is in Diamond, Missouri. Kind of hot out there. Meteorologist Sam Lane.
All right, you're right, Dow. It's been a toasty one out there with temperatures in the upper 80s and lower 90s and no rainfall. In fact, we've had blue skies all day. Radar is all clear right now, so the storm chances are going to remain low through the evening hours. In fact, we're going to see temperatures dropping from the 90s into the 80s all the way down to about 65 degrees by tomorrow morning with mostly muggy conditions. And looking down the lane, it's going to be sunny and hot the next few days, so the drought continues. We do have some weekend storm chances, though, and I'm going to talk about the summer 2023 forecast coming up in just a little bit, so you want to stay tuned for that.
See you soon. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation is giving an update on the white powder found in letters across Kansas. KBI says as of last night, about 100 letters have been sent to Kansas legislators and public officials. A small sample of the letters containing the powder has been sent to a laboratory that specializes in testing biological samples. Preliminary results indicate the substance appears to be negative for common biological agents of concern. A joint investigation between the Kansas Bureau of Investigation and the FBI is continuing. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken wrapped up a two-day trip to Beijing, saying the United States has no illusions about the challenges of managing its relationship with China. The comments follow Blinken's high-stakes meeting with China's president. Skylar Henry reports.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken spent 30 minutes face-to-face with China's President Xi Jinping.
The United States and China have an obligation to responsibly manage our relationship.
The high-stakes visit, an effort to ease tensions between the two countries.
Progress is hard. It takes time, and it's not the product of one visit, one trip, one conversation. My hope and expectation is we will have better communications, better engagement going forward.
While Secretary Blinken says both see a need to stabilize the relationship, China did not agree to move forward with reestablishing military-to-military communications.
I think that's an issue that we have to keep working on. It is very important that we restore those channels.
The two sides have agreed to continue to talk, but differences remain on key issues, from trade to Taiwan. China's top diplomat says his country has no room to compromise on Taiwan, emphasizing China opposes the democratic island's independence.
China's sending a message, hey, we're in charge now. You're finished, to the West and to the United States. And I think it's indicative of what they hope to achieve.
Secretary Blinken says he expects more diplomatic engagement in the coming weeks and months. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Blinken also emphasized possible cooperation between the two nations in areas of mutual interest, including climate and public health. A submarine on a tourism expedition to explore the wreckage of the Titanic has gone missing off the coast of southeastern Canada. That's according to the private company that operates the vessel. Ocean Gate Expeditions said in a brief statement today that it was mobilizing all options to rescue those on board. It was not immediately clear how many people were missing. The expedition, which costs $250,000 per person, starts in St. John's, Newfoundland, before heading out about 400 miles into the Atlantic to the wreckage site. That's according to Ocean Gate's website. Still ahead, a new study looks at whether obesity impacts worker productivity. Plus, life-saving medical supplies dispensed through vending machines. Those stories next in Health Watch.
Struggling?
Topping today's Health Watch, a new study suggests obesity can negatively affect a worker's productivity. Researchers from Eli Lilly and Company looked at more than 700,000 employees and found costs associated with absenteeism, short and long-term disability, and workers' compensation were higher annually for people with obesity compared to those with healthier weight. They recommend employers focus on interventions that help improve the well-being of those workers. People with alcoholism might claim to have a higher tolerance, but researchers say the reality is more nuanced than that. A study from the University of Chicago found people with alcohol use disorder, or AUD, displayed less impairment on fine motor and cognitive tasks than light or social drinkers after consuming the standard intoxicating amount. But when they drank the equivalent of their usual drinking habits, their impairment more than doubled and didn't return to baseline as many as 3 hours after drinking. A new poll finds 1 in 6 parents say their child experiences stomach aches at least once a month, but 40% of those parents have not discussed the issue with a doctor. The Mott Children's Hospital national poll also found nearly 3/4 of parents think their child's belly pain is related to digestion or food, but over 1/4 of parents attribute it to anxiety, trying to avoid school, or fishing for attention. Health advocates hope a new type of vending machine will help to save lives. It dispenses critical medical supplies in neighborhoods in need. Reporter Bradley Blackburn has more.
This vending machine in New York City is in the business of providing products that could be life-saving.
As you see, we have masks, we have wound care, we have Narcan kits, we have xylazine and fentanyl test strips, and feminine hygiene and regular old hygiene kits, because the community said that that was something they wanted.
It's the first public health vending machine from the city's Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. The goal is to reduce stigma and increase access as the city looks for new ways to lower overdose deaths.
We all know people who would be alive today if a machine like this had existed, that whether we're working with someone who winds up dying of an infection because they couldn't access free wound care, to someone who overdoses because they couldn't get free, easy access to Narcan.
Services for the Underserved says 100 kits of Narcan, the drug used to reverse an opioid overdose, were distributed in the first week. The supplies are free and restocked daily. The hope that this vending machine will encourage people to seek the services and medical care they need. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Similar machines in other parts of the United States and other countries have already shown success. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, how drought is impacting the French beer industry.
We've got drought to talk about as well in our local area, and I'll tell you in a few minutes what we can expect for the week and the hot weather when we come back. Well, folks, it was another hot one across the 4 states with temperatures in the 90s, and also the dew points are creeping up too, making it feel a little bit more summer-like out there. Right now in Indigo Sky Casino and Resort down in Seneca, Missouri, or just west of Seneca, Missouri, clear skies, lots of blue out there, a whole lot of sunshine, and that's allowing temperatures to warm up. In fact, we got up to 90 degrees in Joplin after starting out at 62, which was above the normals of 86, but we were slightly below on the low. Nowhere near those records, thank goodness, 101 and 49. Look at the rainfall, about a quarter of an inch below for the month of June, but for the year we're still way down there at 6.5 inches below normal. Right now we do have a heat advisory in effect for Delaware County down in Oklahoma. That will go until 9 o'clock tonight. And you see that heat advisory extends all the way down into the Tulsa area where they're still cleaning up from all the significant storm damage. And of course, without air conditioning, it's making it feel very, very toasty down there. It's also toasty here. Temperatures in the upper 80s to 90 degrees, especially out towards the west. Look at all the 90s. Chanute, Yates Center, Neodesha, Independence, Nowata, pretty much everyone in on the 90-degree act. And when you factor in the dew point, it feels just a little bit warmer in some places. Iola 87, 91 in Nevada, 91 in Stockton, where it's a little bit more humid up there. Rain chances for the next 36 hours are going to be low, pretty much almost zero across the area, below 20%, that's for sure. And that's going to continue for the next several days. And that means the drought is probably going to get worse as we go through the week. Temperatures tonight are going to be very comfortable, mid-60s with easterly winds. And then as we go through the day tomorrow, we'll heat right back up today like we were this afternoon. Temperatures in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees, basically a carbon copy of today. Is carbon copy a term they still use now? I'm not sure, but kind of dating myself there a little bit. Temperatures tomorrow night into Wednesday morning are going to be in the 60s, but notice storms way out to the west though. They're going to miss us, mainly going down into central and western Oklahoma. And Wednesday afternoon, partly cloudy skies once again, highs near 90 once again across the area. Then as we go into Thursday morning, we're going to see lows a little bit warmer, upper 60s across the area, mid 60s off towards the east. Now, I want to show you what the pattern is going to look like for the week. We have this ridge of high pressure that is basically building over the central United States, a trough on the east coast and a trough on the west coast. And as we go through time, notice this ridge just basically parks itself right over the central United States. So we have a storm system off to the east that will try to sneak in the back door on Thursday, but then it's going to start to pull back off towards the east as we go through the rest of the week. And then as we head towards the weekend, we're going to go into a northwest flow pattern. And what that means is the ridge will be moving to the west, and that will allow pieces of energy to come down from the north and west, and so we'll start to see our rain chances increase just a little bit, mainly in the overnight hours into the early mornings. That's when we get these complexes developing on the high plains, and the northwest flow will make them move to the south and east. So that's what we're looking at this week. Dry for the most part until we get towards the weekend when the rain chances increase just a little bit. Rainfall amounts are not going to be all that impressive, maybe a little bit more out towards the west and northwest by the time we go through into Sunday evening. This is from now until Sunday evening, lesser amounts up towards the north. So it's going to be a pretty dry week. And in fact, looking at the 8 to 14 day forecast, look at this. Heat building in the central United States, cool on the west coast, cool on the east coast, and we're stuck in the middle right under that hot dome. And of course, with the heat in place, it's also going to be dry. Showers up towards the north and rain up towards the north and east. So typical summertime weather here in the 4 states. Over the next 7 days, here's what we're looking at. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, partly cloudy skies, highs in the 90s or close to it. And then Saturday and Sunday, maybe some storms in the morning, 30%, especially on Saturday night into Sunday morning. And then Monday, 93, that'll be steamy. And then Tuesday, 92, and then maybe some more storms as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. So a typical summertime forecast here in the 4 states with temperatures near 90 and lows in the 60s.
I think you're right. Carbon copy is outdated, but it's a copy and paste day.
Yeah.
It's a Control-Alt, Control-V,
right.
Control-V, Control-V.
Thanks, Dow.
Thanks, Sam. With rising temperatures and climate change, the beer industry in France is under pressure to cut back how much water is used in the brewing process. Riley Carlson shows us what brewers are doing following that country's worst drought on record.
From brewing to bottling, making beer uses a lot of water. At the Castellan Brewery in France, 13 gallons of water are used for every 2 gallons of beer. But the company wants to find ways to use less by the end of the year. It's invested thousands in an automatic washing system to monitor how much water is used. At the Malteries Soufflé in Strasbourg, they're hoping to reduce the water used to steep and germinate grain by 30% before 2030, even if they have to look for new crops. We want to ensure we have new varieties that will be able to absorb water more easily, the managing director says, and therefore use less in the process. After a dry winter in France, many fear the country could see a second year of record drought, and industries that rely on water know they need to find ways to conserve. I think it's the case for all industry, all farmers, and even the general public, says this sustainable developer. The issue of water is becoming of paramount importance to help keep taps like this from running dry. Riley Carlson, CBS News, London.
Brewers say they'd also like help from government officials to allow them to reuse treated water in the process, something that's currently not allowed in France. Coming up, the president talks about an effort to deal with climate change right here in the U.S. Topping today's Consumer Watch today, President Biden is in Palo Alto, California to tour coastal wetlands and touts his administration's investments in climate commitments. This week, the Biden administration is launching a $575 million climate resistance regional challenge aimed at helping communities become better able to withstand extreme weather and other impacts of climate change. A California man nearly had his property stolen from right under his nose. Luckily, a nosy neighbor stopped it from happening. Christine Lazar tells us more about this latest real estate scam.
That old phrase, know your neighbors? Well, George Stantz feels incredibly lucky to know his.
My guardian angel, my neighbor, Maribel.
Maribel Munoz noticed strangers taking photos and scoping out the vacant lot next door, owned by George.
There were like 3 people taking measurements.
Maribel's a licensed realtor, so she looked up George's property and found that it was listed for sale on Zillow for well under market value. George called police and the listing agent.
According to the broker, it was an escrow, a cash-only sale, which requires no funding from banks, so it would close any day, the broker said.
George was days away from having the title of his mortgage-free investment transferred to someone else.
My investment gone. It's that close.
LAPD Detective Brian Kalickia is handling George's case. He says the fraudulent deal was done over the phone and with electronic signing.
All property information as far as title vesting is all public information. So there are people that know how to search for this information. And from there, all it takes is for a little bit of internet research to gain enough knowledge about that person to impersonate them.
Investigators say thieves mostly target property that does not have a mortgage and is under the name of just one person. A loan and multiple owners makes it more difficult to steal. Authorities say scams like this have skyrocketed since the pandemic. Christine Lazar, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Warner Brothers' The Flash topped the box office this Father's Day weekend, earning $55 million domestically. It was followed by Disney's latest Pixar film, Elemental, which grossed close to $30 million domestically. Overall, it was a disappointing weekend on this Father's Day weekend, with ticket sales for both films falling short of studio expectations. A final check of the forecast next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, there's a critical shortage of OBGYNs nationwide. Tonight in a new series, we're going to hear how changing abortion laws are impacting where medical students are choosing to work. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to hear from more participants in today's Juneteenth celebration in Parsons and how it impacts the community. Plus an update on some weekend storm damage in the area and what we can do to help protect our property when severe weather strikes. And the latest on a shooting death in downtown St. Louis. Stay with us. CBS Evening News, KOAM News at 6. It's hot out there and it's going to be that way for a while.
Oh, it's hot. Yeah, of course, it's dry during the week, storms on the weekend.
Of course.
That's what we're going to see this week. Pretty much dry all week long, and then a chance of storms on Saturday and Sunday. Small chance, but there is a chance there. And then Monday and Tuesday, 93, 92, and then maybe some more storms next Wednesday and Thursday. So definitely summertime is here. Officially arrives on Wednesday, though.
All right. It is hot and it is muggy. We're going to leave you tonight with another live look at the Juneteenth celebration now underway in Joplin's Ewart Park. Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. We'll see you right back here at 6. Let's make it a great evening.